Right, so in today's video, it's absolutely freezing again, but I'll soon be warming up as I'm going to be going over that hyperlapse mode on the newly released DJI Osmo Action 6. So if you follow my channel, you'll see that I'm a fan of hyperlapses there on the DJI range, and then also on the Insta360 there, but that's called time shift, but they are relatively the same. Now with the hyperlapse feature on the newly released Action 6, we've got 6 rates there, and it's going to start in auto, ×2, ×5, ×10, ×15, and finally ×30. Now lower the rate, let's just say ×2 and 5. Like in today's testing, it's going to be strapped to my chest harness, and I've found that ×2 and ×5 just are not usable whilst walking around, because you get that bobbing effect as you're walking, and like I've said before, it's as though you strapped it to a frog or a bunny and it's hopping around. Just keep that in mind when you see those first 2 lower rates of 2 and 5. And then opposite of that, the higher the rate you go, the faster the footage. There's no bobbing in the footage, but it's just way too fast. Let's just say at the rate of ×30 there, right at the end, that's the 6 rate. That is really fast. Now if you've got a straight line you're walking, let's just say for 1 mile, that'll be really usable. But if you've any twists and turns in your footage, like I've said on my previous videos to do with hyperlapses, it becomes unusable and you get dizzy watching it. So I found the sweet spot whilst walking while doing hyperlapses is the rate of ×15, as you're going to see today, and always use a chest harness, because if you want to do any hyperlapses on a selfie stick like this, let's just say you're walking for 10 minutes, I challenge you to keep it in that same position and play it back, because when you play it back you only have to move slightly, like left and right. You're shifting the frame, it's going to look messy, and plus you're going to be having that bobbing motion even if you think you're not, because when you're walking for say 10 minutes, like I say, I challenge you to walk and keep that in a perfect position. That's why I suggest always use a chest harness when you're doing those hyperlapses whilst walking. So now let's start the hyperlapse video, and the first rate's going to be in auto. So let's see what that looks like. Here we go. So now you've just viewed the rate in auto, and I think you can agree it's really usable, especially if your path that you're walking on is really straight, like at the beginning on the road there. It's not bouncy, it's not too fast, it's not too slow, but as soon as I took that left turn there through the stile and then straight up towards this woodland, which by the way was a great 13.5 stops dynamic range test there, as it were pointing straight into the sun there. So I've not played this back, I've not looked at that. So as I was walking up that hill there to these woods, how did the dynamic range fare out there? Could you see the detail in the grass, or was everything a shadow as it was pointing straight into the sun there? And when I'm going through these rates today, each time I've finished one, I'm going to stop and vlog towards the camera like I'm doing right now, because that's a good thing to be doing today, because I really want you to see this newly released Action 6, what it sounds like and the overall stability of it whilst I'm vlogging and walking. But I do find with the Action 6 audio, it's hypersensitive to any kind of wind. Just for instance, when it first came out on the first day, it was slightly breezy where I were. I put faith in it, just like the Action 4 and 5 Pro. You can use them in slight breeze, but this Action 6 I find is really sensitive to any kind of wind there. Like I say, all the footage what I did when I first got it was rendered useless because you really couldn't hear me, and I was only this far away, 30-40 centimeters, vlogging like I am right now. And I do suspect whilst I've just been talking, if you can pick any breeze up there, because there is no wind at all around me, but I think even walking with it causes that wind to rush over that internal microphone there. It's like I say, it's a bit hypersensitive. So I highly recommend with this newly released Action 6, if there's a slight breeze when you're vlogging, especially if it's a little bit strong the wind, always attach an external microphone there. Right, so now I'm going to switch over to the second rate, which is ×2. Now I'll put this in your head before you see ×2. Just imagine a frog or a bunny, and I've strapped the camera to it, I'm chasing it, and it's hopping along like this. Because that's what you're about to see right now in these lower rates whilst walking. Like I said at the beginning, ×2 and ×5 are completely useless and unusable whilst walking, because it looks like a frog and a bunny, as you're going to see right now. Here we go, ×2. now you just viewed the rate in ×2, and I think you can agree it's completely unusable whilst walking because you get that bobbing motion whilst you're walking, which renders the footage useless when you're using the hyperlapse there whilst walking. I think you can agree it does look like I've strapped it to a little frog there and it's hopping along. And you're going to see that yet again in the next rate, which is ×5. That's really strong. Right, so now we're going to switch over to the rate of ×5, and yet again you're going to see this is like that bunny and frog, only a little bit faster because it's obviously ×5, so it's doubled and then a little bit more there. So now let's see how usable that is whilst walking. Here we go, ×5. So now you've just viewed the rate of ×5 there, and I think you can agree it's a bit unusable for walking, as it's basically like ×2 but just sped up a little bit more. We've got this motion on ×2, and then we've got this motion on ×5, so you can only imagine what ×10 is going to be, which is next. That's double the speed of ×5, so get ready and let's have a look to see if that's really usable whilst walking. Let's see, ×10, here we go. Now you've just viewed the rate of ×10 there, and what's your thoughts on that one? Now it's obviously faster than the 2 and the 5, but it's not as good as the auto rate there, because we'll get into that next. That's going to be the same as the ×15, which is next. But that ×10 I find unusable for walking yet again, especially if we've got any turns there. Although that were a long straight you've just viewed in 10, yet again it's beginning to be like a dynamic range test today, because that sun seems to be everywhere where I'm going. I have planned this route, but that sun, I'm telling you, I'm not lying, that's moving. But on the positive side there, at least we're testing out that 13.5 stops of dynamic range. Right, so now we're going to go over to the rate of ×15. Like I said, that sun's not going to be in the camera lens this time. It's either going to be at the side or behind the camera backlit. So now we're going to switch that ×15 rate on. This is the one I prefer and use all the time. Now it's not going to be absolutely perfect, but you'll see that bouncing motion is a lot more reduced than the ×10 rate. Let's get into that ×15. Here we go. Right, so now you just viewed the rate of ×15 on that long straight. And what's your thoughts on that one? Now, as you can probably tell, I purposely chose a long straight because I really wanted to show you the rate of ×15, how usable it is. Now, it's not perfect when you look to the sides of both screens, left and right there. There is some bounce, but it's loads better than that 2, that 5 and that 10, especially the 2 and 5 there. Right, now we're going to switch over to the 6th and final rate now, which is ×30. Now, this is really rapid, so if you choose this one whilst you're walking with your chest harness, always make sure you've got a long straight there, because as you're going to see, it's very rapid, because the rate you've just viewed down this long straight was ×15, so it's double the speed of that. So I'm going to make sure that sun's well behind the camera lens this time, because we just tested that in those lower rates there. So I'm going to carefully choose the path all the way back to the car now, and it'll be a long straight because it needs to be, because that ×30 is really rapid. So now let's switch over to the rate of ×30. Here we go. Viewed all those 6 rates there today, and that final rate of ×30, what's your thoughts on that one? Now, as you can agree, it's really usable, just like the ×15, because those 2 rates, I carefully chose them there on the path I was walking on, because I wanted to show you how usable they are, even at that high speed. So just to recap on these hyperlapses today, you've just viewed all those 6 rates, and the lower the rate you go, the slower the footage, and the higher the rate you go there, the faster the footage. And like I said earlier, the lower the rates, the ×2 and the ×5 for walking, they're just not usable as you get that real bouncing motion, which is annoying. And it's not smooth and it's not pleasant to watch there. So you want them higher rates. The sweet spot's ×15, as you've just probably viewed there, and you probably agree that that ×15 is the best one there, as you saw. So basically, if you're walking around with a chest harness, always use the rate there of ×15. And if you're in a vehicle, let's just say a car or a bike there, and that camera's static, it's not going to be bouncing obviously as you're walking, and you can get away with any rates there. Just yet again, be really mindful of the road that you're going to be taking whilst in a car or a bike there. So do stay tuned to the channel, as I'm going to be posting plenty more videos on the horizon, especially with testing out this newly released Action 6, and I'm going to be really drilling into all the menus there soon, breaking it down and simplifying it for you. And I'm really interested to really test out that automatic aperture. I've lightly tested it, and it's just interesting to see it fluctuate between f2 and f4 in all the different lighting conditions. So in this video today, I've set that aperture to 2.8, and that's what you get on traditional Action cameras. Now don't forget, it's a first on the Action 6. We've now got a variable aperture. So that means that aperture can be open and close automatically, but you can set that into settings to different intervals. And since I've had it, I've left it in automatic mode, and I've really noticed a difference. It can be annoying, to be fair, if you don't fix it, because as you're going through different lighting conditions, that aperture's opening and closing on its own, and some of the shots don't look as nice as if you keep it in this fixed 2.8. That's why I've done that today, because I really want to get back in post and analyse this in those really blown out areas, because I've really analysed it with that aperture open and closing. But for now, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and bye for now.